Are you ready to buy a house? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Because everyone and their mother and their cousin's neighbor talk about how buying a house is the ultimate financial goal. But what if I told you that there are 7 critical questions you absolutely need to answer first? I'm actually asking myself these same questions right now because I've been thinking long and hard about buying a house too.
That's what she said. No time. But she did. No time!
And honestly, some of these answers surprised even me, where one of the questions even got me to completely rethink my own timeline for buying a house. We'll go over these questions together. And by the end of this video, you'll know if buying a house is the right move for you or if waiting just a little longer might save you from a huge financial headache. If you're new to this channel, then hello, I'm Akash, an entrepreneur and a product leader with over a decade of experience building systems and habits to accumulate wealth. And my aim with this channel is to help you escape mediocrity and make money even in the darkest of times. So keeping that in mind, let's jump into the first question, which sounds simple but is often overlooked. Am I going to live here for a good portion of my life? This might sound really vague, so let's put an actual number against it. Am I going to live here for at least 10 plus years?
10 years.
Yes, 10 years.
Think about it. If you're not planning to stay in the same city or even the same house for a decade or more, buying might not make financial sense. Between closing costs, taxes, maintenance, and market fluctuations, you could lose money instead of building wealth. Just like a car or most things in life, you'll see that the longer you can use it, and in this case, the longer you can live in the house, the more value or return on investment you'll get. If you crunch the numbers, you'll actually see what I'm talking about. I'll leave a link to my video where I break down the numbers for buying a place with an actual downloadable Excel sheet at the end of this video. Stick around. But yeah, this is where I had to get real with myself. I've moved countries before and I've moved numerous houses before as well, and I love the freedom of being able to pick up and just go. But the idea of staying in one place for 10 years, I mean, that's a commitment. And currently my wife and I love living in downtown Toronto, where I see myself living for the next few years at least. But maybe after that, I might want a change of scenery. Or maybe not, but right now I'm indecisive. And so I thought about this for a while, and here's where I landed. If I'm buying, it's because I see myself growing roots in that location, not just physically, but emotionally and professionally. And so ask yourself, do you see yourself here long enough to make the investment worthwhile? Talking about worthwhile investments, can I keep my monthly housing costs below 30% of my income? This one's all about affordability. The general rule is that your monthly housing costs, including mortgage payments, taxes, and insurance, basically all of your housing costs, should not exceed 30% of your monthly income. In some of the bigger and more expensive cities, this cost can go up to maybe 35 or even 40%. But anything more than that, and you're not in a good place financially. When I did the math, I realized that in some cities, even a modest house would push me about 30%. That was a big wake-up call for me. I'd rather wait and earn more than stretch myself too thin every month. And more importantly, I'd rather focus now on making more money so that my housing costs fall well below the 30% mark. And remember, going over 30% means cutting into other areas of your life, like saving for retirement, traveling, or just enjoying life in general. The real question then is that trade-off worth it to you? This isn't something we think about critically enough, in my opinion. It's only when shit hits the fan and you see how much is getting deducted every month for your housing loan or mortgage when you realize that you need to really cut back on other things in life.
Almost half my money's gone.
Most people simply look at the monthly mortgage amount and think that's easy to cover, but all the phantom costs like insurance, taxes, legal, and closing costs are all things that are not taken into account. I've spoken about all of these in the 8% rule video regarding buying a house. I'll link that video too at the end of this video. And here's where things get trickier. Even if you hit that 30%, there's one hidden cost most people completely ignore, but more on that in a bit. But for now, since we're talking about costs, let's ask, do I have at least 20% saved for the down payment? Here's the deal. If you don't have at least 20% saved for a down payment, you're either taking on more debt or paying private mortgage insurance, PMI, which is just throwing money away. And also this 20% shouldn't leave you with zero investments, assets, or liquidity. You don't want to liquidate all of your investments and or use up all of your emergency fund to cover the down payment. I mean, this goes against the fundamental principle of investing, that is not having a diversified portfolio. Because now you have all of your money front loaded into this one property, which you still have 80% to pay off.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
And so the recommended suggestion is to have enough liquidity so that you can cover this down payment and still have some left enough to spare. But it's not just about the 20%. You also need cash for maintenance, renovations, and other unexpected costs that pop up with no warning. So the smart approach would be to pad all those costs and add that buffer into your calculations before signing on the dotted line. Currently, my priority is to increase my income substantially while also investing heavily in the stock market. So I have clear-cut goals for that. And when I start crunching the numbers for the house, I realize that even if I can hit the 20%, it'll take away a lot of money every month from this goal of growing my money in the stock market. And honestly, that made me completely rethink my timeline for buying. What about you? Do you have enough saved to feel financially secure, or would buying stretch you too thin? Let me know down in the comment section below. Alright, so next question is one most people don't think about enough. If my house's value drops, am I okay with that? This question is freaking crucial. The housing market can obviously go up, but it can also go down. If your home's value drops, will you be able to ride it out without panicking? Most people don't react too well to economic downturns and end up digging themselves a hole. Another way to look at this question is to think through some scenarios that are rampant right now. What if the interest rates were to shoot up? Would I still be able to afford the monthly loan payment for my home? What if there's a really bad recession? What if I lose my job? I know I might sound like a downer, but these are all very practical and possible scenarios. I know of people who have also lost their jobs and struggled to find a job, putting so much pressure on them to cough up the monthly payments for their home. For me personally, I had to ask myself, am I okay with the idea that my home might lose value for a while? And my honest answer, yes, but only if I'm planning to live there long term. Otherwise, it's a risk I'm not willing to take. This is the same answer for my investments in the stock market too. I have no problem with a correction of 5 to 10% because I'm playing the long game. If you're buying this place purely as an investment, you need to ask yourself, are you ready for that kind of risk? Is that level of risk worth it? And more importantly, can you handle downturns with no emotional turmoil? Well, the next question is more of a psychological one. Is this actually the house of my dreams? This one's a biggie. Are you settling for the house because it's a good deal, or is it truly the house you want? I ask because most people don't get their dream home or even close. Of course, I'm not talking about ridiculously lavish homes with like 16 bedrooms and 31 bathrooms.
2 bedrooms is still 1 bedroom too many.
If you look at human nature, which is quite strange to be honest, you'll realize that we only start looking for houses when we have flipped a switch in our heads. And then a couple of searches later, a few filters on websites and apps later, you end up with a list. And then you visit those and pick one that falls within your budget. That's a great way to find a house. But if it's your dream to have a home, then is the home you're buying actually the house of your dreams? Wow, that's a mouthful.
That's what she said.
Or at least close. Well, here's what you should consider instead. Number one, the house itself. Does it feel like home? It's not just about square footage or price, it's about how you'll feel living there every day. I once toured a house that looked perfect on paper, but something just didn't click. It taught me that if I don't love it now, I probably never will. Another non-negotiable for me is a lot of natural light. If the house seems dingy or dark, then I'm out.
I'm out. Oh.
2, the location. Do you love the neighborhood, the commute, the community? A great house in the wrong location is still the wrong house. I know people who rushed into up-and-coming areas for a deal but ended up hating the commute to the city. 3, the why. Are you buying this house because you truly want it or because of external pressure? I've personally felt the pressure of family and friends asking, when are you going to buy? But I've realized that buying a house to meet someone else's expectations is a recipe for regret. And so I've told myself, if I'm buying, I'm going all in. The location, the layout, the neighborhood, everything has to just feel right. I'm not buying just because someone says this is a great deal. And if this means having to buy a house worth $2 or $3 million or even more, and if I have to save for that, so be it. But that's just my approach to buying a home. I just hope it's not that expensive though. Anyway, what about you? Have you felt the pressure from your peers, family and friends to buy a place? Let me know down in the comments. Now, if I had to pick 2 major reasons why I'm not considering buying a place right now, it's the following 2 questions. Let's start with, do I have money left to invest after buying? Owning a home shouldn't mean you stop investing. On the contrary, it should actually be a stepping stone to diversify and grow your investments. If your house becomes your only asset and if it's eating up all of your extra cash, then that's a huge colossal red flag. Like I mentioned earlier, I have clear goals with investing in the stock market, and so I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize that. On the flip side, I'm going to do whatever it takes to increase the amount I invest. And so when I looked at my finances, I thought, if buying a house means I can't really invest in stocks or other assets every month, then I'm not ready. Building wealth, in my opinion, requires diversification, not all in bets. So ask yourself this very important question. Will you still have money left over to invest and save after paying for your home? And don't just simply assume or do mental math. Sit down and actually calculate to see what your months are going to look like financially once you move into your home. Either ways, whether you plan to buy or not, it's going to save you a lot of headaches and planning. So it's completely worth doing this activity. And the other important question is, will buying a home affect my lifestyle? Basically, will buying a house affect how you live your life? When I ran the numbers, I realized that if I bought a house today, I might have to cut back on some traveling, dining out, or even some hobbies I enjoy. And to me, that's not really worth doing right now. And not to mention moving out of downtown, which I'm not really looking to do anytime soon. My wife and I have worked really hard to settle down here, and we try our best to enjoy our lives here. You know, basically living our rich life as we mentioned in our video. Check it out when you get the time. But fundamentally, your home should improve your life, not restrict it. So think hard about how your lifestyle might change. So in summary, will I actually ever buy a house? Absolutely. I'm actually looking forward to that day. But when though? Well, when I can confidently answer yes to every single one of these questions, that'll be the day. There are numerous other factors too to consider, but these were the important ones in my opinion, and I thought I'd share them with you in case you're in a similar situation. And so what about you? Which of these questions surprised you the most, and did they even get you thinking? Let me know in the comment section below. But I get it, the pressure to buy a house is real. Society, family, even the fear of missing out, FOMO, it all pushes us to rush into decisions we're not really ready for. And if you ever felt that pressure, I would recommend watching this video, Things People Don't Tell You About Renting versus Buying a Home. I break down the psychological and societal factors that make us believe renting is a waste and why everyone wants to buy a home. Also check out this playlist on real estate, which includes the videos I mentioned earlier, like the 8% rule of buying, the only rent versus buy calculator you'll need, and many more. I go deep into the specifics and numbers to show what might actually make you wealthier, renting or buying. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on one of these.